Hi everyone and welcome to the Learning Ladder. Today we are going to make some educational products. I'm starting a new series, how to make educational products using PowerPoint and Canva. So today's episode is all about PowerPoint. We're going to do a quick brief overview of some of the features that are really helpful to use when you're making products in PowerPoint, and then we'll make something together and we'll go through the process of how to make a template. It's great for anyone who is wanting to products, but it's also great for anyone who is wanting to make them for themselves for homeschool. Okay, so the first thing we are going to do is to create our template area, so our white area, so the correct size. So what we need to do first is we need to click on design at the top, on the left hand side of your toolbar. Click on design. Head on over to the far left side where it says slide size. So we're going to click on this and we're going to click customize because we want to specify our slide size ourselves. We're going to do that, and then this little box will open up. Now if we click the radio button here, we've got lots of different choices for our sizes. So I am going to pick so we've got 8.5 by 11, that's letter paper. I'm going to pick A4 because that's the size I want. So I'm going to click A4. I'm going to change my slide orientation to portrait because that's the position I want my paper to be in, and I'm going to click OK. And I am going to click ensure fit because I want it all to fit onto my page. So here's my slide size now. It's the right size that I want. However, it's got the titles on and things like that, so what I'm going to do is just click at the top. So I'm going to click at the top on my home and I'm going to choose a new slide that is completely blank. And I'm just going to delete that one. Okay, so now we've got a fresh piece of paper for us to start creating on. Okay, so the main things that you will use the most in PowerPoint when you're designing templates are this box over here, which has got all your lines in and your shapes. And you will probably also use your insert box where you can put in pictures and tables. So your pictures and tables are under your insert tab, and then your squares and different shapes and your text boxes are the home tab, as you can see. So we're going to use the home tab the most and the insert tab when you're making PowerPoint templates. Okay, so let's have a look what is in this box, rectangle shaped box here. So the first one we've got is our text box. As you can see, it's got a little A in it. So if we click on this, it will enable us to draw a box, which we can then write in. PowerPoint is not like Word, you can't just type. So if I was to just go down here somewhere and start typing, nothing will happen. You always need to have a text box. PowerPoint's angry now because I did that. You always need to have a text box, which is this little icon over here with the A on it. If we press that, we can draw our box, which we can then write in. Once you've written your text, it's similar to Word in the respect that you can change your font. So over here you'll right click on your font, you'll pick whatever font you want. You can also change your font size. You can change your font color using the same as you would in the word processing, the A with the color underneath. We can also center and move around our text just like you can in a word processing program. The only difference is you can't just type, you have to always have a text box. The next thing you're probably going to use a lot of are the shapes. So in the text box, as you can see, we've also got shapes. We've got an oval here, we'll draw an oval shape. To draw it onto your page, you'll just select it and then you will just draw your shape. Once you've got your shape onto your page, there are two different options how you can adjust it. You can go up to your toolbar at the top and we can look at shape, fill, shape outline or shape effects, but we can also right click on it and the same things come up anyway. So it's up to you. You can either right click on it or you can go to the top, either will work. Today we're just going to use the one at the top. We'll look at the first option, and that's shape fill. So we can click on this and we've got a choice that we can change the shape fill to any colour we want. All of these options. We can also choose no fill. So if you want your shape completely blank, white with just an outline, you can pick no fill and there it is. You've got rid of that colour. If we also click back onto shape fill, you'll notice there are a few other options here. We've got more colours, so if you don't like the colour, there's more to pick. You can use the eyedropper, which is very similar to if you've used any kind of editing, packages, so photo editing, that's where you can pick different colours and change it to a certain colour that you'd like. We can also look at these different options here. So we've got gradients and we've got textures. They're all quite advanced, so we're just going to keep it quite basic today, but I'm more than happy to talk about that more in another video. Those are all the options under your shape fill. The next option we're going to look at is our shape outline. So if you see under shape fill at the top on the left, we've got shape outline. We're going to click on that. We've got all the options again, so we can change the outline colour as we did with the shape fill. We can also choose no outline, but that's going to make it invisible, so we're not going to do that. And then we've got some different options that we didn't have before. So we've got weight. So we can choose how thick we want the line to be of our shape. So right now it is 1. We're going to change it to 4.5, just for argument's sake. So nice and chunky line there, so you can do that. You can also change the design of the outline. So for right now it's a solid line. You could make it dashed, and then there are more options as well for you to just have a play around with and decide what style you want your shape to be in. Okay, so now we've got our shape on the page. What else can we do with it? So we can move it around. So we just select it again, and if you can see, I'll just zoom in a little bit closer. When you actually go to the outline of it, you can see those 4 arrows. That's your move. So when that's highlighted, you can move your shape. So I can move it anywhere on the screen that I would like. I can also change the size of it. I can drag it in to make it a bit smaller, or I can drag it out if I want to increase the size of my shape. Okay, so we're just going to leave our shape up there for a minute, and then we're going to look at something else that you will use a lot of when you are making products, and that are lines. I mean, you're going to need somewhere to write, aren't you? So what we do to get our lines onto our paper is we select, there are 2 options. We can select this one at the top, which has got an arrow on, or we can select a plain line, which is the most commonly used. So I'm going to click that as we did before, and then we're just going to go back. We're going to go back down to our paper, and then if you can see, it's like a cross shape now. That's how you know that you've got the line function on. We're just going to click and drag to make our line. So it can be as long or as short as you like it to be. And we can position it however we'd like, wherever we want it to go on the page. So once we've got it to where we like it to be, we can then, so it's a little bit wonky, there we go, we can then do what we did with our shape. So we can change the thickness of it, we can change the colour of it, and it's the same principle. We can right click on it as we did with our shape, and the options are here, or we can go to the top to amend it. So what I'm going to do is go to the top so you can actually see better, and I'm going to click on shape outline, and here we can change the colour. So I'm going to change it to black, or I might change it to grey, but I'm going to change it to black because it's easier for you to see. And then we can also change the weight of it again, so we can make a really thick line like that one, which is massive, but we don't want that one. So we're going to pick, maybe I'm going to pick a 3 points so you can see it quite clearly. And again, if you didn't want a solid line, you wanted dashed, there are lots of other options here. We're just going to keep it a solid line. Now, if you want to draw another line, you could do the same principle. You could go and get another line up the top and drag it and the whole thing, but that's quite time consuming. So the best thing to do is to select your line, so make sure it's highlighted, and then we're going to hit Control and D, and that will duplicate our line. Then we've got 2 lines now, and then we can use the move option and we can just get it wherever we'd like to go. If you see to the left and the right, we've got red dash lines here. That's helping us to know that they're in the same place, and that the lines are both in the same position, and that we're not, for example, going crazy sticking it over here. So it's all nice and level and even, if you can see those red dash lines. So we're going to place our line, say, about here, and then we're going to delete it, duplicate it again. And what you'll find is, now that you've lined them up, it should, in theory, position them almost level, but always check, because it's not quite the same as, for example, in Canva, where there's an option to straighten everything out. It's not quite the same in PowerPoint, so you do have to be a bit more careful that they are all lined up and level. Okay, so now we've got our basic shape and we've got our basic lines. What else could we do? We could format our shapes. So for example, I want to have 2 circles, so I'm going to duplicate my circle. I'm going to make sure it's selected, and then I'm going to hit Control D, and now I've got 2 circles. I'm going to move this one over here. So say for example, I don't like it the fact that it's underneath the original circle. I want it on top of the original circle, or I want the other circle underneath. I just want to change the order of them. What I can do is go to the top of my screen of my toolbar, and I can click on drawing tools, and I can click format. I've got a few more options here than I did before, so I can bring forward, I can send back, so I could choose whichever was most appropriate. So if I wanted to bring the shape forwards, I would click that one. If I wanted to bring the shape back, I would do that. I would click on that option. Okay, and the last thing I'm going to show you before we start creating things is to put a table in, because I said that's something that you will likely use a lot. So what I'm going to do first though is just add a separate page. So I'm going to go home, I'm going to go new slide, and I'm going to click blank. So now I've got a separate clean piece of paper to work with. I'm going to click on insert, and I'm going to click on table. Now there are 2 options. You can draw your table onto the square. So for example, say you wanted a 4-column table with 5 rows, then you would do that and it would appear onto your screen. Or click on insert table, and then the box will come up for you to actually type in the column of rows that you prefer. So either way works. There's no right or wrong. So what I'm going to do is just draw it because that's more fun. So I'm just going to do 5 and 5. So we're going to draw our table, which is 5 down and 5 rows and 5 columns. We're going to move it. So as you can see the little arrows, when you've clicked on it over here, you've got the little arrows, so you can click and move it wherever you'd like it to go. Now you could drag it out from here. So if you click on the circle, we can make it a bit bigger, stretch it out. It'll still stay in its 5 rows, 5 columns, but it can just fit it to the size that you'd like it to be. So we'll stick it over here and move it right there. Okay, so that's where we wanted it to go. Now we don't like the blue and the grey, and we're not sure about that, so we want to change the colour. So what we're going to do is click over here next to all our designs. So this was the one that's highlighted. This is the medium style 2 accent 1, but that's not really what we want. So what we can do is click, you can scroll down, or you can just click on the option at the bottom where we can get all of them to see, and you can then play around. So you can say, well, actually I like that, and that looks reasonable, that's kind of table-ish. That kind of looks like a table, so we could pick that option. We might like blue, we might prefer orange, so you can just pick basically which design you would like. And because this is a table, this table will act the same way as a table does in Excel. So it's not just lines and boxes, it does have formulas. It does have the option to insert rows and insert columns, as you can do in Excel. It's not like just drawing, because if I just drew a square like that with lines on and everything else, it would not be a table, it would be a shape. But this is an actual table where we can insert columns, insert rows and everything else. So let's pick a design. Which do you think? Should we go for the blue? No, we'll go for the black so you can see it a bit more clearly. So we'll pick that one, and there's our table. Now we can do very much similar things that you can in Excel. So we can right click on it, we can insert things, we can delete things. So let's click delete. Say we decide actually we don't need 5 columns, we just need 4. Then we can delete one of our columns. There we go. And if we say actually no, that was a mistake, we shouldn't have done that, we can insert again, and let's insert it either to the left or to the right, and then our columns back again. Okay, so those are the three functions that I find really useful when I'm making my templates. So we've got the table function, we've got the shape function, and we've got the line function and the text box. So it's actually 4. So now we're going to have a little play around and create something together. So I think something you will use a lot of when you're in homeschool is sort of a composition style notebook with a space to draw and write. So that's what we're going to do. So we're going to click on insert, we're going to click on new slide, and we're going to make a blank slide. So we've got our nice clean fresh piece of paper over here. Now what we're going to do is go to the top, and we're going to choose a shape that we'd like our drawing space to be in. So we're going to leave space for our title, because we might want to write a title. Then we're going to click on our rectangle, and we're going to draw our shape. So let's see, we want a nice big area for them to draw, but we still want to leave a few spaces for lines. So we're going to say that's about right. So we're going to click here, and then we are going to go to the top, and we're going to click on shape fill. We don't want it to be blue, we need a space for them to draw, so we're going to make it white. Then we're going to click on the outline, and we are going to change that to black as well. And then we are also going to make it a little bit heavier than what it is. So it's currently a 1, so we're going to make it a 2 1/4, just so it's a little bit clearer for them. So now we've got our space to draw with. Now I do think I need to move it up a tiny little bit, so I'm going to click on it and move it up just a little bit here, so we've got a bit more space for our lines. So now we've got a nice square for them to draw. Next we need a space for them to write, so we're going to go up to the top, we're going to click our line. We're not going to do the line with the arrow, we're just going to do the line. Then we are going to go down to our section where we'd like to have our lines, and then we're just going to draw. So we're just going to drag the line across the page, and we're going to level it up so it's correct, and we're going to leave it there. It looks in a good position. Now we're going to do the same as we did before. We're going to go up to the top, we're going to choose shape outline. We're going to keep our line black, but we do want it a little bit thicker, so we're going to choose our weight, and we are going to make it 2 1/4 as well, so it matches the thickness of the square. Okay, now one line's not enough, we want a couple of extra ones, so we're just going to make sure our line's selected, and then we're going to go Control D, and we're going to drag our line into position. So we're going to leave it about here, and then we're going to hit Control D again, and then we're going to hit Control D again, and we're going to go all the way to the bottom. So now we've got several lines for them to write. We've also got a space at the top. Now what we might like to do is put a text box in. So we're going to click on the little A at the top where it says text box. We're going to draw a box, and then we're going to write my story. If you don't like the font, you can just highlight it, right click, or you can go up to your toolbar. I'm going to the toolbar because it's easier for you to see. So I'm going to the toolbar, I'm going to choose what font I'd like, and then I'm going to hit the center button over here to make it in the center. Oftentimes it won't line up correctly, so especially if you've got a shape on there, so I'm just going to move it slightly to put it where I think is more accurately the center. You'll see that red dotted line that comes up as well. I might actually underline it as well, so I'm going to highlight it and underline it. Okay, so there we go. Now we've got our first page that we could use to print off if we're using it for our own children, or if you're wanting to sell it, then you can just make it a bit more fancier, maybe change the line, colour, whatever you'd like, and then you've got your first template. The last thing I'm going to do is show you how to save it. So we could just hit File and Save if we wanted to just save it as a PowerPoint document, but if we're wanting to actually sell it, then it needs to be in a PDF format, so we click Save As instead. You choose wherever you wanted to save the document. Just going to choose whatever file name we're going to pick for it. We're going to change our format. We're going to change it into a PDF, and then we're going to click Save. Now what it'll do is publish it, and if you have PDF software already on your computer, then it will automatically open. So I have Adobe, so it's automatically opened into Adobe for me. So here is what we just created. So we've got our circle, giant circle. I'm just going to zoom back out again. There we go. It's more like it. So we've got our circle, we've got our practice lines that we did, we've got our table, and then here's our little story template that we made. And now it's in a PDF, which you can then use to print off, or you can save it for any kind of book that you're wanting to make with it. So I hope that was helpful for you. If you've got any questions, leave them below. One last thing I'll mention before I go is if you look closely at my screen, I do have the grid lines on, so you can see the dots. That's just to help me with designing, because I am now publishing them. Before I didn't used to have that, and it was just a white screen. So if you open up your PowerPoint presentation and you think, why does mine look different? Probably because you haven't put your grid lines on, and it's basically just an option on your toolbar to put those on, just like it is with the rulers, where you can put your rulers on, which I've got also on the side. You can see the rulers over here. It's just an option to add on. Just click on it at the top to put your ruler on and your grid lines, but you don't have to have them. But if you are actually wanting to sell them, sell the product, it's really helpful because then you can measure margins and everything else. So that's everything for today. I will see you in our next video. Take care. Bye for now.